Glad you're
Hey,
here. So we got pretty good group going here. If other people sign on, um, they'll catch up. So Kathy, I'm going to go ahead and let you introduce our guest speakers, since you brought them to us.
I
And
brought
then,
them to you because I made an accident and had a session with Barry at the same time we had our this group. This is Zebrafish Neuro. The founding member right there is Steph Camilla. She's on the right. And then Barry Moore, he joined what, Barry, about 2 months ago, as Steph's right-hand man, and he is learning all the ins and outs. He is my online one-on-one trainer. Basically, and correct everything I say, Steph, because it's all going to be wrong. Um, it's From the Ground Up is the book that Stephanie, it's a groundbreaking book, #1 on Amazon in the spinal cord injury uh, publishing categories. There it is. Um, I bought the book 4 years ago, right after I got hurt. Um, I might have gotten a pre-publishing edition, but it is
I
it
think
is
so, yeah.
fascinating in that it describes in detail how you can recover or attempt to recover from the ground up. So it is not traditional um, physical therapy. It relies on your fascial lines. It relies on, as Barry and I say, with a twist, um, doing things in what you may think is an unconventional manner to reach gains that you may think you may not have been able to reach. And I'm putting a disclaimer on that because everybody is different. Um, you can do this at home by yourself with a partner, a helper if you need a helper. Um, Steph, you have grown from just a little Instagram, Facebook page to a worldwide conglomerate. So, and I'm not kidding. I mean, she's in Australia. It's just really taken off organically, a lot by word of mouth and people seeing and doing and talking about the techniques and the work that shows results. And that's about all I'll say.
Kathy, that was so great. Thank you for the introduction. And it really is like for thanks to people like Kathy who found the work so early on and just started with an open mind to some unconventional ways of learning to rediscover movement and connection after a traumatic injury or a loss of sensation or a loss of motor function. Thank you, Kathy, for your advocacy and your referrals and everything. It's been really fun to be watching you guys grow as we grow too. So we've really grown along with each other, I think. Yeah. I'm going to just do a little screen share. This presentation is going to be somewhat listening, somewhat interactive. So we hope you join us in all of it, in all the pieces. Bear with me on the tech. Sometimes it takes me a second to like figure out all of the screens and everything as we switch from Zoom to screen share. Yeah. So y'all can see this open slide, yes?
No.
Give me a thumbs up or a yoo-hoo or whatever.
It's a little
course,
cut off, Steph,
Oh, it's cut off on the screen?
on the bottom.
How about that?
That's better.
yes.
Great. Awesome. And
I'll be
still
your
good.
tech support.
Thank you. I appreciate it. I don't have Theo to do that for me now.
I know, that's why.
He was my like Gen Zer like tech guy. Yeah. All right. So as Kathy mentioned, Zebrafish Neuro, our mission is to empower individuals with spinal cord injuries with educational resources for effective at-home recovery programs. One of the reasons why we started Zebrafish Neuro, which I'll share Theo in a second, my co-founder, was both myself as a trainer and a lot of my clients. We work together very closely and frequently in an activity-based therapy clinic, which is basically an adaptive gym that has everything from the robotic training to the electrical stimulation to fitness equipment, all that kind of stuff. But we were recognizing how expensive those gyms were to go to, and also they were in specific locations that not everyone has access to. So those individuals who were in more rural areas didn't have the drivers to get them to those places. Maybe they were working full time and didn't have the availability between those operating hours. So we decided that we needed to do something about that and make a change and create an opportunity and create resources for people to be able to do some of these things at home. This was actually all before COVID hit. And then when COVID hit in 2020, it was like the launching point for us to really get this going. So I know COVID was a hard time for a lot of people, but it was actually really the kick in the butt that we needed to publish the book and get people's attention for why this is so important, because obviously gyms and hospitals and outpatient clinics were closing down too. So those are the people that did have access also had this need. So that's kind of our story in a gist. This is our team. Of course, I'm in the middle. My name's Stephanie. I am, by schooling, I have a bachelor's in exercise science. I started working with spinal cord injury athletes and clients in 2011 at an activity-based therapy clinic in Northern California. And then about 4 years after I started that, I turned towards Pilates as inspiration for my approach. I just found Pilates to be such a healing modality for both my clients and myself as a practitioner. So I became certified in Pilates and now have been doing that for over 10 years. It's been just a game changer for my client and myself, and I'll talk a little bit about Pilates in a second. Theo on the left there, the redheaded genius, he had a spinal cord injury, C6 incomplete SCI in 2012. And we started working together pretty quickly after his accident. We worked together in the facility, the outpatient or the activity-based therapy clinic that I mentioned. He also came with me to the Pilates studio. And then at some point after when did he actually leave? Well, at some point in there, we decided to write a book about the things that we were discovering in the Pilates studio because it was just too important to not share. And that's where From the Ground Up came to be. At some point, Theo went off and went to school, back to school at MIT for aerospace engineering. And he's now in that chapter of his life. He's in a new chapter of his life, though. He's still involved with Zebrafish as an advisor, but he's not in the day-to-day operations and the development. As of January, this last January, which is when Barry came on board as sort of my right-hand man. Barry, I'll let you introduce yourself, but hold on, I have to give you your microphone.
Yeah, so my name is Barry Moore, and I have been working with people with spinal cord injuries since about 2018. I worked at an ABT facility that had ABT, obviously PT and OT available to people for people with spinal cord injury, stroke, brain injury, anything neurologic. So I did that from 2018, working in Indianapolis in Indiana. And I also worked in Dublin, Ireland for about a year and a half as well at a facility for people with severe brain injury. And then, yeah, earlier this year, January, I joined Zebrafish, and I kind of worked in Indianapolis full-time, worked with Zebrafish part-time. And since early May, I have relocated to Oregon and working full-time now at Zebrafish.
Yeah, so we're located in Central Oregon in Bend. You know where that is. But it doesn't really matter because we do everything online and remote, which is the beauty of it. So, yeah. All right. So I kind of gave you a little bit of our background story, which I think kind of informs some of the values that we have here at Zebrafish, but just kind of our biggest two values that we have is, first off, we value self-supported and self-generated movements, which basically means that everything that you do in our program is designed to promote your own independent movement. So we don't use robotic. We don't use necessarily the electrical stimulation quite as much, although it sometimes is a tool for us. The exercises that we select for you, you do 80 to 100% on your own. So as Kathy said, you might have a helper, or if you're in person with us, we might help you just a little bit more. But that's the beauty of remote coaching, is that responsibility goes back on you all to create your own movement and create your own program that way. Yeah. Second, one of the other values we have is ownership and autonomy, and that's kind of what I was just saying. Our goal is to not have you rely on in-person training. We don't want you to have to pay us a lot of money and come into our facility multiple times a week for multiple hours a day in order to feel good in your body. We want to teach you how to take ownership of that process for yourself, give you the tools and the resources and the education so that you can create your own programs and you can implement them on your own at home, right? Your health, I would say health primarily, right? Recovery is another topic, but your health and wellness is on you, right? And this is a lifelong endeavor, and we need to figure out how to make it sustainable. And the best way that we know how to do that is to help you guys take ownership of that process. All right. Some of this is, well, first of all, does that resonate with you all? That kind of makes sense? Does it feel like it makes sense for you? Yeah, cool. Great. And then I also actually, I kind of skipped this. I'd like to know, I know some of you are health providers, and so hold on, let me open up my screen. Can you just give me like a little raise of the hand if you're a health provider, like if you're a PT or a nurse or an OT? Nancy, is it just you? Oh, and Saul, are you a nurse or some sort of health provider?
I guess I'm a pharmacist, but I guess if that really counts. We don't really get counted in anything ever, so
Count you? We didn't count you. You're part of the conversation.
we never, like, for whenever first responders got everything, like all the discounts and everything, we did, like, doctors, all that, like, we were never included. It's like we're always forgot about, so I just have to make sure.
Well, for the record, mad respect, I barely made it through OChem in undergrad, so there you go.
Thank you. Yeah, OChem is definitely not fun.
Yeah. Okay, cool. I just wanted to hear from that, because this next slide that I'm going to get into is going to be a little bit more technical. So maybe for the kind of background information on the methods and the I guess the systems we use at Zebrafish, I'm going to get into here. So we use several systems. I'm going to go over 3 that we work into. The first one is, let me get back over here, is the motor development progression. So if you've ever watched a little one grow up in any way, essentially that's the motor development progression, the progression that infants go through to learn coordination and skill and strength and mobility on their way to a more functional human, all right, wherever that lands, right? So we take inspiration from the motor development progression, doing exercises on the stomach, tummy time, doing exercises lying on your side, practicing going from a laying down position to a sitting up position like an infant would. And as Kathy referenced, and why we named the book what it is, from the ground up, right? We are building your strength, your coordination, your mobility, literally from the ground to a more vertical posture, whatever that means for you. If that's a seated posture, if that's a kneeling posture, if that's a standing posture. One of the other things we draw inspiration of, as I touched on, is Pilates. I found Pilates to be such a great method because it emphasizes whole body integration. It emphasizes a little bit more of a holistic approach, what we would call a somatic approach. A somatic refers to the internal experiences and perceptions that you have through movement in your body. So it's not just about the biomechanic and the function. It's also about how you feel in your body, the comfort and the safety that you feel in your body, right? Some of you may have endeavors to gain function. Some of you just want to get out of pain. Some of you just want to be comfortable or not tired, right? So we prioritize those things just as much as we prioritize the function, the biomechanics. So anyways, Pilates has that kind of written in its method. Also, the equipment in Pilates is really amazing. But I'm not going to get into that because that's more of like an in-person thing. However, if you are interested in trying Pilates, get in touch with me because I will talk your ear off about it. All right. And then lastly, fascial line. Kathy touched on this as well. I think this is where our approach gets kind of interesting. So fascial lines are the connective tissues that connect our body from literally like one end of our body to another end of the body. So, for example, if you look at the skeleton, there's 5 there. If you look at the skeleton second in from the right, you can see that there's this X pattern across the trunk, the core. So when people tell me that they want to improve trunk stability or core strength, I go to this chart and I say, which one of these fascial lines crosses the trunk? And the answer to that question is the spiral line, which is that one right there with the X. The cool thing about fascial lines is that you don't necessarily have to have muscle activation in your core to be able to tense the fascia in your core, right? It's connective tissue. It's not innervated by the nerves that potentially were damaged in your spinal cord injury, right? So we can access our body through fascia, which is outside of the traditional nervous system. If the traditional nervous system is damaged, we have to find other ways to communicate through the body and create tension and stability, and that's through fascia. So the way that you access your core fascia is with your armpit muscle, also called your serratus anterior, if you want to know the anatomy. But I just call it the armpit muscle. That's a really easy thing to remember. And people tend to know exactly what I'm talking about when I say armpit muscle. All right. So I want you all to just feel your armpit and maybe see if you can squeeze your armpit. Like, what would it be like to engage your armpit muscle? You could even cross your arms and kind of get the shoulder to shrug down. That's exactly what I'm talking about. Your armpit muscle right there. So that is your access portal to increasing the tension of your core fascia. And then of course it goes down the rest of the body as well. All right. I hope that wasn't too far over your head. I think sometimes the best way to understand things is to experience them. So Barry's going to take us through a little bit of an experience, better understanding how to access your armpit muscle and how to make your shoulders work for you in that way. All right. So I'm going to stop the screen share and switch the microphone.
Okay. So we're going to start with one shoulder. So I'd like you all just to pick one side that you're going to work with. And preferably if you can have that side close by to a table, a chair, an armrest, something that you can put your elbow onto later, kind of like I'm doing here. Okay. We'll get to that a little bit later though. To start with, let's just start with that arm, whichever one you're going to pick. We're just going to raise it over your head. Lift it up as high as you can, whatever feels comfortable, and just make a mental note. How does that feel? Is it tight? Is it kind of tight in your shoulder? How does it feel? Maybe do a big circle with your arm. Go backwards. Do a nice big circle. Okay? From there then, I want you to find your collarbone with the other hand, if that's accessible for you. Okay? We're going to trace that collarbone into the center of your chest and then find where the highest bony part of your chest, right before you kind of meet your neck. Okay? And we're just going to rub that. We're just going to give it a little massage, whether it's with your fingers, your palm, your knuckles, whatever is accessible to you. And we're just giving that a little bit of a rub. Okay? We're doing this because the collarbone is the only bony attachment of your shoulder to your skeleton. And this is where that bone attaches to your skeleton. So we're just massaging that area, trying to loosen it up and give it a little bit of freedom, which will help move the shoulder. Okay? So now after doing that for a few seconds, I just want you to lift your arm again, try that big circle, and see how it feels. Do you notice any difference? Okay? Maybe give me a thumbs up if it feels better, thumbs down if no difference. Yeah, some people feeling a little bit better, someone know. Okay? From there, then, we're going to come back to the collarbone, kind of trace along it out towards your shoulder. And then we're just going to go right in under that bone, on the underside of it. And we're just going to press in on it. Again, another little massage all along the collarbone, on the underside, the bottom side of your collarbone. Again, take a few seconds just to rub all along it. It may feel uncomfortable, may feel tight. And what we're doing here is we're just trying to release that connective tissue and fascia that may be restricting the movement of that collarbone, which then could lead to restricting the movement of your shoulder. Okay? Again, this is just all an idea of how we can help ourselves. We don't have to go to PT and OT and trainers and massage just to get more freedom in your shoulder. Okay? So now after doing that, let's retest again, see if we've got more range, more freedom. Does it feel easier to move? Any difference? Okay. Patty says good. Nancy says good. Butcher's got a smile.
Progress.
Definitely looser.
Okay. Next one, we're just going to come on top of the collarbone. Okay. And we're just going to add a little traction down on the collarbone. So we're going to almost like grip it and pull it down towards your chest.
Oh, maybe I'll lean on my knee. Really? Okay. Down.
And while we're pulling down on it, we're just going to hold it down. And again, it doesn't have to be anything drastic, just some gentle, light pressure. And we're going to lift your arm as you're holding that collarbone down. Yeah. And you can kind of do it as you're lifting, you can pull down and then release it and then pull down again. Again, think about it. Do that big circle too if you want. Again, is it feeling any better? Any worse? Any different?
Better, worse, same.
It's a bit
I'd rather
painful.
someone did it for me.
Yeah, it can be a little painful because we're often tight and stiff in there, so we're trying to release some connective tissues that
Wow.
will hurt when we get into that, right? So a little bit kind of small and often will help to reduce that pain when you're trying to do something like that. But even think now, maybe after the class, try the opposite side and see how they compare, one versus the other. Okay? Yeah, maybe even try that. Try the other side right now. Try the opposite arm. For me, it's different anyway.
Wow. Big difference.
Cool. Great. Okay. So next thing we're going to do, we're going to just do some circles with our shoulders. We're going to target our scapula now, our shoulder blades. Okay. The goal here, we're going to pull our shoulder blade back and we're going to try and make our collarbones as wide as we can. Okay. And then when we do that, then we're dropping down. We're going to pull our armpits down over that rib. So we're trying to, again, that armpit muscle that Steph talked about. We come back and then we use that to pull those muscles down. Pull the shoulders down. Pulling your shoulders away from your ears. Okay? We're just trying to get the scapula moving now that we've kind of freed up the collarbone. Okay? Nice smooth circles. Make your collarbones as wide as you can here. We're looking for width here across your chest. Okay? Squeezing the shoulder blades together here. And then armpits down over the ribs. Okay? And now let's retest again. So that same arm, up and around. Even just lifting it straight overhead. Okay? Anyone feeling better again?
Mm.
Not the same? Better? Great. Few thumbs up. Oh. Okay. The next one then, we're going to focus. We're going to put our hands on our shoulders. Okay? And then we're going to think about our elbows. I want you to reach them towards your screen and then lift. And then reset. And even start from here. Push them down, reach towards your screen, and lift. Okay? So the idea is you're trying to get your elbows as far away from you as you can. And think if you were drawing a line with that circle or with your elbow, how big a circle can you make or a semicircle can you make with your elbows? Okay? Yeah. And Linda, if you can keep your elbows a little closer together, we don't want them out here. We want them in this way. And that may be a little bit more difficult and we might not get as much range, but we'll go with that for now. Okay? If your elbows are kind of tricky to find and lead with, you can just think about your armpits. Drop them down. Okay, so if we just do armpits, drop them down. And then we're moving forward and up. Okay? And
I'm
again.
here. I'm feeling a lot of popping and cracking.
Yeah. Okay. So again, with that one particularly, we're really trying to target that armpit muscle, which helps kind of kind of center our scapula and get a position nicely. So again, just take a little retest. Big arm circle, lift your arm up overhead. See how it feels. Okay. And then we're just going to do one more. And this is where that table, chair, armrest, whatever it is, we're just going to lean onto that elbow. We want the elbow right under the shoulder and our chest nice and wide. We don't want kind of caving over the other arm like this, okay? Nice big open chest, elbow down, and then we're going to press straight down into the elbow. We're looking for height here, okay? We sink down and we press down into the elbow to activate that armpit and lift the body. Okay, as much as you can and lift. Just like that. Let's do 4 more. Press down, really think about that armpit muscle, pressing down into the elbow and trying to get some height. If your other hand can come in, kind of like what I was doing there, and kind of feel your armpit, as you press down into that elbow, do you feel the muscle tensing? Okay. And we want as much distance between your ear and your shoulder as possible. Get nice and high off that elbow. Okay. And let's just retest again. How does that shoulder feel? How does it feel moving? Seeing some thumbs up again there. Yeah. And then again, compare it to the other side. Which one feels looser? Which one feels better? To me, there's a big difference. And I'm not just saying that. Yeah. It's kind of strange. Okay. So just an example of something that we can lead you through remotely that can have a big impact on your mobility and kind of freedom in that shoulder. Like sometimes if that's kind of painful or tight, something simple like that, 10, 15 minutes can really free up a shoulder.
Does one equate this to yoga moves of sort?
Did you say yoga moves?
Yes.
Not necessarily. I wouldn't necessarily classify it as yoga moves, just more targeting the kind of bony and connective tissue structures around your shoulder to kind of create that freedom.
Yeah, sorry, I don't know your name, but it's interesting. A lot of people will say, "Oh, this feels like yoga," and I say, "Well, actually, this is Pilates." People feel like there's this crossover between yoga and Pilates, and there is a lot of crossover. So, yeah, I would say it's kind of in the yoga family, but more technically, it would be in the Pilates family. Cool. I'm just protective about that. I'm a Pilates teacher, so I like have to be a Pilates advocate. Okay, I'm going to bring it back to you.
Just to give you a little bit more of an idea of what remote coaching is and what it looks like. Typically, what we would do is we would meet you on Zoom. You'd have your own kind of personal meeting room on Zoom that you just click that link every time, takes you to the same room, and we'd meet there one-on-one. Or if you had a trainer or a partner or someone that wanted to watch, they can join in as well. Oftentimes we'll set it up with 2 cameras so that we can see 2 different angles of you. That's ideal, but not necessary. And then we would have you either be on the floor, or if that's not somewhere that's accessible for you right now, we can do it on a bed, a therapy table, or whatever kind of surface works best for you. And if the floor is somewhere you want to be, we can talk through strategies in getting there as well. And we always welcome pets too. If you've got dogs or cats, we welcome them to the sessions. And then when we're on the floor, we kind of go through some, I won't say basic strength exercises, but they're more foundational to human movements, how we can teach you to move on the floor with some basic movements, and then also moving into other positions. So we often treat moving from one position to another as an exercise, and the strategy on how to get there so that you're more mobile, more independent in various positions, even something like just rolling over in bed or getting up to seated at the side of your bed, something like that. Like Steph talked about, we go through the motor development progression. So we typically start with someone on their back, work into side lying and prone, laying on your stomach, and then work our way up through the postures into seated, kneeling, all that kind of stuff. And we welcome people who are going to help out, but we try to encourage people to do as much of the work by themselves. But if someone needs assistance in various aspects of it, we'll teach that person how to help. They don't have to be a PT, an OT, a trainer, a nurse, anything like that. We have husbands, wives, kids, parents, all helping out with their loved one.
With back at your skeletons, you had these different muscle groups. Does your training kind of address all of those specifics that you're showing there? For instance, the back, going so all the way down to your legs, that muscle, or down to your hips, addressing that.
Yeah. So yes and no all at the same time. We work the fascial lines essentially from top to bottom. So because so the fascial lines go from essentially the head down all the way to your toes, but we're going to access the fascial line with whatever is not affected by the spinal cord injury. That's going to be your access point. And then we work down into paralyzed areas through the fascial lines. So if you have access to your shoulders, you have really, really strong shoulders, but less access to your core, we're going to use the shoulders like we just did the serratus anterior as a way to access the abdominals. Same thing with your back. So the access point for your back is generally the back of your neck muscles. And so we're going to use the back of your neck muscles and then also your lats, these big broad muscles here, to engage all of the low back muscles and create stability and stiffness down in the low back. And then it continues down. Yeah. And then yes, it continues down. So inner thighs, pelvic floor, glutes, hamstrings, all of that. But generally, yeah, we're going top to bottom. Does that answer your question?
Yes. I'm thinking it more like you were going back to the infant, that you build and focus on maybe one area, but from your top of your bottom down to your toes and such, you aren't going to go start working on your toe or the calf muscles. You're not going to go down there and start. You'll start from your movement area. True.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. And so no matter, and even someone that is, somewhat walking or able to stand, I still always start with good neck mechanics, good shoulder mobility, and then kind of work my way down. Yeah. It's always from the ground up, working on foundations. And then I guess in fascial lines is from the top down.
There
It doesn't
you
really
go.
work for that.
From the
But
face.
yeah. Great. Okay. Good. Great question. Awesome. That was like more technical than I thought I was going to get today. Okay, cool.
Yes.
Where were we? I'm going to switch the microphone back to Jake.
And just one thing to finish up on the remote coaching, we will assign you like a Google Doc, a Google document that you can access at any point. We write out the session that you did, so you kind of have an idea of all the exercises you did. And we'll also record the session on Zoom, so you can go back and watch that video and play it back and do it all yourself again. So the idea that we meet you maybe once, maybe twice a week, and then you can redo those sessions as many times as you want throughout a week. So again, the idea of reducing the cost of having to go to a clinic 3-4 times a week. So what's kind of the difference and the highlights of remote coaching versus in-person? With the remote coaching, we're hands off. The onus is on you to create the movement, to hold the movement, and to kind of take ownership of the movement for yourself. We don't do the supported standing and the gait training. If that's something you're looking for and you need right now, that's not what you're going to get with remote coaching. With remote coaching, we save on the commute. We know people that travel long ways just to get to a clinic. So, oh, can you hear me, guys?
Yes.
Okay, great. So yeah, the commute is saved. You know, we're just talking about getting to your bedroom, your living room. That's where we need you to be for a remote session. So it takes off the pressure of ordering rides, having a driver, someone taking you where you need to be. We promote solo workouts. So when you're doing your session, you can just get on your floor, get on your bed, and do it at home at any time that suits you. If it's 9 o'clock at night, that's great. If it's 6 in the morning, great. We don't have to rely on opening hours of the clinic, which is really nice. Often people think that this stuff is going to be really kind of low intensity and kind of easy, but we can get it be quite intense, and maybe Kathy can attest to that. We can make it as intense as someone wants. And yes, they can be so relaxing and therapeutic as well. Kind of like what we did there, just kind of self-massage and things like that. The big new cutting edge technologies, it's not what you're going to get with remote coaching. Yeah, unless there's some new computer system that can, I don't know. Yeah. Schedule's really flexible with remote coaching. You're not reliant on clinic hours and all that kind of stuff again. Access to trainers. We have clients in Australia, Iceland, Poland, Ireland, all over the States. So again, we're here in Oregon and we're helping people literally all over the world, which is so cool. Yeah. And sustainability. I mean, over the course of a lifetime, right, we're trying to educate you and teach you how to be self-advocate and take ownership of this. So in the long run, it's something that you can do yourself and you don't need us then. Hopefully we can get to a point where we see you once a quarter or once every 6 months or once a year and we just check in, that type of thing. That's the goal with all this, that it's all your movement and your kind of ownership. The big thing that a lot of people get hung up on is the floor trippers. So that's something that we want to address here. And if that's what's holding you back from kind of thinking about doing remote coaching or anything like that, that's something we can definitely help with. We can get you in a bed. We can do a session on your bed and then talk through strategies about getting to the floor, getting off the floor, all that kind of stuff. The floor and your bed, they're both accessible spaces. Granted, we just might have to talk about a strategy to get on the floor. With the floor, we've no worries about rolling off the bed or falling off the bed, anything like that. The floor is kind of an unlimited space. Granted, we have some limitations in terms of actual space, but you're not going to fall off or kind of hurt yourself in that way. The floor is often a harder surface, which in some instances is kind of challenging, like if you're putting weight through an elbow or a knee, but it allows you to move easier. If you're in your bed, that softer give in the mattress makes things much more difficult. So the floor is a great place to kind of give yourself the chance to move. A lot of it's novel to be on the floor. I know for myself, even when I get home and want to stretch, being on the floor is just different and it feels good. You feel grounded. It's a safe space to just explore yourself. And then we can have a partner help either on the floor or in the bed. Doesn't matter. If your partner can kneel down or be beside you on the floor, great. Regular, daily, and high transfers. So transferring nightly, that's where you kind of do that anyway into your bed. And it's kind of the same thing. So if you can get into bed at nighttime, you can do a session with us. And then when it comes to just living life, if you can get on the floor, or we can teach you how to get on the floor, whether it be by yourself or with a partner, it kind of opens things up, like being on the beach, being in the park, laying on the grass, that type of thing. So it kind of just opens a little bit of kind of normality of life again. Yeah. And then, Steph's going to tell you just a little bit about what people kind of report back to us.
So, as I mentioned, I started doing remote coaching. Maybe I didn't mention this. I started actually doing remote coaching in COVID.
Now your sound's kind of mushy.
Yeah.
There we go. Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Can you hear my dog barking?
Nope.
Good. As I said, or as I may or may not have mentioned, so I started doing remote coaching on the week pandemic hit, March 2020. One of my in-person clients, he reached out to me and said, "Look, I still want to be able to move throughout the, the 3-week shelter in place. Would you do remote coaching with me?" And I had no idea what that would look like, but it actually ended up really being fantastic. He actually, when things got back to normal, or when things got back to in person again, he actually decided to just start to see me once a month in person, and the other 3 weeks of the month we did remotely. So it was an actual choice for him to do the remote coaching over the in person. And this is kind of what he said at that point in time. He said he used to drive, let me pull this up. He used to drive an hour or so each way for a session. He had to transfer out of his car, such a nuance. He just found it so empowering to take ownership of his own work and understanding. He said just this independence is invaluable. And he is, that's Casey. He is the pioneer of Zebrafish remote coaching. So he's the reason why it all started. And I still see him every week to this day. As Barry mentioned, floor-based movement opens up a whole new world. This is one of my clients. She lives in New Zealand. She's on her beach holiday, and she got down on the beach and did some of her floor-based exercises while on holiday on the beach. And I always encourage my clients to send me a little selfie when they get done, because they always just look so happy and relaxed. This is one of my other girls. She is a corporate lady. She works for Airbnb. She had a long day of meetings, and knowing that she had just the program was written out for her and the recording was there for her, all she had to do was get down on the floor and check things off the list, right? She knew exactly what she needed to do, which was great. And I said, no decision fatigue, you just get right to it. And that was, again, eliminating barriers to entry to healthy lifestyle is having a plan. This individual, she lives in England. She talks about how, because she understands the system, because we've taught her the system on how to create her own program and up-level her program, we've taught her the system of it, she progresses herself. I see her once a quarter. She knows how to progress her own exercises. We check in every quarter and just make sure she's on the right track. So she's actually making progress quicker between sessions than she would if she was waiting for her next appointment every time to make progress. She knows how to progress herself, which is pretty cool. And then this is one from one of Barry's clients. He was so excited to be able to get down on the floor. It really helped his tone. I'm speaking for Barry. It really helped his tone and spasms. And if you even read a look, oh, there was supposed to be another highlight there. That's okay. He was talking about how he got some cardio in. He got his heart rate up with some of the exercises that Barry does with him. So just a really nice way to decrease tone and get some cardio all in one go. And Kathy, I know you have some testimonials there, but we didn't dig those out because we figured you would say them yourself. All right. So again, that's just, hopefully don't take our word for it. Just, I think the clients speak for themselves on their experiences. And we're just so excited to be able to see these kind of words coming through. So I don't want this to feel like a sales pitch at all for you guys, but in case you were interested in getting involved with Zebrafish Neuro just a little bit more. Number one thing is we now offering, we did our first one actually just yesterday, but we're now offering free community classes every quarter over Zoom. They're floor-based or bed-based. using simple props like balls and pillows and sliders. Barry teaches those classes, and we just invite you to, I'll give you a slide on how to get on our mailing list, but we invite you to get on our mailing list so that you can join us for those free community classes. The second way that you can get involved is through our DIY self-paced online program. These are basically their modules that you watch, videos that you watch online, and we give you all of the education, so the educational background, the information, and then also the kind of exercise tutorials on how to do the exercises and how to do a program. Okay, obviously those are online and self-paced. They're you hold yourself accountable, and they're a bit more generalized. If you're looking for something more individualized, more coaching, we have. We just started our group coaching program. So this is where we're clumping together groups of 6 people to meet together twice a week and work on some of these floor foundations. So some of the exercises that you saw in that video earlier, the exercise here that Barry was teaching you, learning how to lean on that elbow. Our next cohort starts June 24th. So that's in 2 weeks. And the last day to register for that is actually a week from today on Wednesday. So again, if you want to get involved in some group coaching, we're getting that started. And then lastly, if you really just want some one-on-one individualized attention, we of course have the one-on-one coaching option as well. You can find all of that information on our website. I know that some of you are probably on your phones, but if you want to whip out your phone and scan that QR code, you can put your email in there, and that will send you information about all of our offerings. I'll leave that up for another 10 seconds. Or you can just go to our website. You can find everything there. It's just not quite as laid out as that email that we'll send you. Good, waiting for Kathy. Did that work?
What are you waiting for?
Oh, I'm just waiting. People are taking pictures of the QR code.
Oh, I don't need to.
I know, Kathy, you don't need to.
No.
You're already in. You've been on that mailing list for the last 4 years.
I
5
know.
years. Yeah. And then of course we do free discovery calls too. So if you just have questions about yourself or the program or thumbs up, you can on our website and through that email that we'll send you, you can get some information on how to book that. But yeah, we'll go ahead and open up the floor for any questions. I'm curious to hear from you all if you have ever heard of using fascial lines for yourself. Anyone? Okay, that was novel.
I've been a nurse, rehab nurse, working with spinal cord injury population for 40 years, and never have I heard about it.
Mm-hmm.
Never.
Yeah. And I will say that fascial lines are such a integral part of Pilates. So we were kind of talking about the difference between yoga and Pilates. And so once I entered the Pilates world, that's where I learned about fascial lines. I was in the SCI, training community for 4 years before that, but it wasn't until I got into Pilates that I started learning about fascial lines. And I saw that there was a DO on here, but he must have left. A doctor of osteo.
Dr. Romanowski was on.
Yeah.
I texted her quick and said, hey, you need to jump on here if you can. She's got children and stuff. So,
yeah.
But she works with some of our population, and I was like, oh my gosh, you got to get on here. And she was able to come on a little bit, and I'm going to send her the recording of this afterwards, as well as to my other spinal cord injury physicians.
Yeah, awesome. Yeah, I was curious to hear what she thought of that, or if she's ever heard of that before. I'm sure she has heard of fascial lines before, and meridians and things like that. So, yeah.
Her response to me for the short time she was on was very cool.
Cool. Okay, great. Nice. Excellent. What else? What else did you learn?
What's it?
I just said, what else did you learn?
I had to hide from my wife that, or so she didn't hear about having a pet.
Having a pet be in general, having a pet, or a pet be included in the session?
Both.
Good timing.
There he is.
Oh my God, love it.
Oh,
Great. Well, thank you so much for having us, Nancy, and the rest of you in your group. That's all we have for you. If anyone has any questions, we'll be here. Otherwise, we can turn it back over to your normal support group.
Was it supposed to say coaching on for the link, like when you did the QR code?
Yeah, did it not work?
Yeah, it did. I just wanted to make sure like it should say which
So,
coaching you're interested in.
yeah, so actually,
Is that the
Saul,
right, is that the right
yeah,
page?
that link is to get information about our coaching program. But if you just want to get onto our normal email list, here I'll put so, and even as a movement provider, like a medical, here, use this link, Saul.
Okay.
This one's gonna, well, so if you use the other one, you're gonna get tagged as someone with a spinal cord injury, which is not terrible, but let's, this is our general email sign up.
Okay.
I'm sorry, Kathy?
I didn't say anything.
QR code up again.
I'm hearing,
Put the QR code up again.
oh, put the QR code up again. Yep.
So I think that was Linda that was asking that, right?
Yep. That's the QR code. And if you also just want a link in the chat.
So I would love to have you do this for the spinal cord injury providers at my rehab hospital. Is that
Okay.
something you would be interested in doing?
Yeah. Do you like a remote presentation?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely we can do that.
Um,
Something similar, like 45 minutes ish, just kind of like Zebrafish 101, like what we're all about. And I can get a little bit more technical.
yeah, yeah, absolutely. Because it would give the therapist some insight, because a lot of our therapists are not seasoned, but are sponges and want to learn.
Yeah. Yeah, of course. And Nancy, I don't know if you are on our email list, but yeah, great.
I think I am,
Okay.
because I'm getting emails from you.
Okay, then you're definitely on the list.
Okay.
Sorry for the spam this week. We just had that community class and wanted to get out. But yeah, because yes, the answer to your question is yes, we can do a presentation, no problem.
Okay, so next question to the group. Is this something that the group would like to have, maybe a group session, and we pay for it through our funds? Would people be committed to doing a group session?
it's an interesting perspective.
It would depend on when it would be set up. Like,
So we could set it up to be for like support group night.
right. Well,
And
that's a good idea.
I mean, you all show up on support group night, so we could do it on support group night, and we could fund it so it wouldn't be no cost to you all. We would fund it through the funds that we have for the support group. Don't feel like you have to answer it now,
Right, right.
but
Talking about group, and that your program is a building step program, as a group, everyone is different and a specific individual. How do you tailor your training to, encompass those differences?
Right.
Yeah. So, question, just real quick. In that little bit that Barry showed you, I think most, if not all of you, felt some sort of change in your body? Right? And that was kind of without us really even knowing you.
Well, you were starting high, very high.
We were starting high, right? And like I said
Yes.
earlier, we're always going to start with neck, shoulders, make sure we got to dot our I's and cross our T's, make sure all this is in check. So we start there, and then we bring in more layers as we go. We have what we call foundational exercises. We keep it very simple. We've got maybe, what do you say? Kathy, what do you think? Like, we do like 15 different exercises in our program, but so we teach the base foundation exercise, and then when we offer what's called layers. Be like, okay, if you want a different experience, you want it harder than what you're doing right now, try this option within this base exercise. So you're right, it's not exactly perfect. Everyone's got different abilities, everyone's got different aches and pains and things going on. But to answer your question, there's a base exercise, and then we add layers in depending on if someone needs an up level modification. Maybe they just need a lateral move to something else because of a funky shoulder.
So,
the system is set up so that it's easily adaptable for a group.
so with that said, if you have a group, would you address individually to bump it up and make it harder for each individual?
Yeah, so if the camera's on the person, I'm just going to say Barry, because to be honest, Barry's probably going to lead that one. He would be able to say, Nancy, I want you to do this version. Linda, you're going to do this version. Kathy, let me see you do it again. Oh yeah, you look great right there. Stay right there. That's perfect. That's
Okay.
kind of what it sounds like.
And what did you say that I forget? What was the group cost?
So that group program is to join the group program that we're starting on June 24th. But if you wanted to do just a private group class, gosh, you know what, Nancy, I can send you that information. I don't.
Okay.
Yeah.
That'd be fine.
Yeah.
If they choose to do
it's
it.
more affordable than the series.
Yeah.
Dave, I can interject here. I've done one group class, I think, with you guys, and it goes exactly, I'm not on mute. It goes exactly the way that Stephanie said, that Barry leads the class. He led the class, and he points out individuals and corrects the individual or encourages the individual based on that person's abilities and needs. So it really, your level of injury doesn't factor in as much as you might think it does. Correct, Barry?
Yeah, absolutely. 100%, Kathy. Yeah, you're spot on there. And another thing to add to it too, with the group class, it's a movement experience and a class for moving your body and trying to feel more comfortable in your body and relieve some aches and pains. It's not necessarily going to be the thing that makes or breaks your recovery necessarily, but it's about helping you feel more comfortable in your body, learn how to move your body slightly better. And like Stephanie talked about, sometimes you go back to the foundations where you feel like, I can do that, no problem. But we get into the nitty gritty of it and the nuances of it, and we make them exercises better and stronger so that carries into the current rehab that you're doing anyway.
What are you doing?
So
Do you do floor?
Was that a question for me?
Yeah. Do you do floor?
So on the floor, yes, I get on the floor.
Okay.
And what? But Barry's very patient, and he says, take your time, and because I'm kind of a type A and I want to get like perfect. But I get on the floor and it takes me a little bit to get somewhere, and then I think, you know what? This is my time. I'm going to take my time and get perfect.
So I just want to share with all right. I'm hearing some background noise.
Yeah, I'm taking care of it.
Yeah.
Uh-oh, Butch, you're getting muted, I bet.
Mhm.
So my proposal to the group is, so this isn't going to be like individualized. I'm not going to get you all out of your wheelchairs and walking. That's not the goal. My goal is my thoughts are to provide this free of cost to see if it's something that you might want to further look into. Excuse me. If that's the case and we have 6 people that want to do it, I will gladly pursue with them and do this for you guys.
That's awesome. Yeah. And you guys can maybe chat about that after this call when we're gone. We don't want to put everyone on the spot.
Yeah, I'm not trying to put anybody on the
I
spot.
I got a question before everybody leaves for Stephanie and Brad. Or yeah, I'm sorry.
Go ahead, Butch.
Terrible with names. Anyway, I'm getting a spinal cord stimulator inserted 1st of July. That have any effect on what you guys would do, or wouldn't you work with me?
Yeah, it would not necessarily like with the spinal cord stimulator. It's more about the surgery and the recovery of the surgery and where the incisions and stuff are. Once you're fully recovered from your surgery and the implant and stuff, then it shouldn't be a problem.
Okay, that's what I wanted to know. I'll mute
Definitely
myself
may wanna-
again. Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure Nancy backed me up on this, but basically, a lot of times when you have incisions, you're not supposed to do twisting motions because you want the wound to heal. I will say in our program, we emphasize a lot of twisting and rotation, good for your organs and good for your spine. So we just want to make sure that incision is good to go, get clearance from your doctor, and then, yeah, you can join.
Yeah, but I don't think that would be a problem, because usually from that kind of surgery, you're going to be healed within like 6 weeks. And for me to get this all set up, it's going to take longer.
And Butch, I have an implant. I have a baclofen pump, and I waited until I got clearance from my doctor, and it's not a problem to do the exercises, but I waited until I was fully healed.
I just want to say this sounds like it's even for people that don't have a spinal cord injury.
I will say that literally saved my career because I was about to go out with back pain and go into interior design, and yeah, now I'm still in it, 15 years later. So yeah, it's great.
Nice. Does anybody else have any questions or concerns or feedback to provide Barry and Stephanie? Then I want to say I will be in touch with you, Stephanie. I just would like to enlighten our staff, and I appreciate all of this. I really didn't understand what it was all about. So Kathy, thank you for bringing it to the group, and keep doing the work that you're doing because it's awesome.
Yeah. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Stephanie and Barry.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Take care.
Take care.
Have a good
Bye.
night.